Is Alex Damon on your Mount Schmodown, and what would it take for him to be if not?
At this point in time, I don't see him on it. Nothing against him. There are just so many others that I see on it. Make it quick, Dan. We got
maybe for like Star Wars Mount Rushmore, but sure. I would say you would have to play a little bit more because he's only focused on that one division.
Yep.
That's just my opinion.
And with that, everybody, Frenchie's Corner is completely wrapped up. And now Laura Lights Out Kelly, everyone. Laura Kelly, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm even more delighted to hear that Alex Damon isn't on anyone's Mount Rushmore. That kind of kills me.
You would be on there before him any and every day of the week, in my opinion. So
thank you,
there's
sir.
no question. But thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciate it. You had a hell of a match against Mollie Damon last week. And I was just wondering, could you give us some insight into your thought process as you were preparing for that match?
Well, I kind of hit a breaking point with this whole pandemic thing. Being in Chicago, I think we had like 10 days straight of snow where I like didn't leave my apartment, can't go for a walk, like working from home. Like it was just a mess. And so I kind of last minute decided I just needed to get out of here. And for the last couple of days of studying, like leading up to the match, I actually went and stayed in a hotel for a few days just to like fully eliminate all distractions. The main distraction being like the refrigerator. So that was nice to like be able to get away, be in my own space for a little bit, just see different walls that I've been stuck seeing for a while. So that was kind of nice. My process other than that really hasn't changed much though in the last 3 years. For the most part, it's been pretty consistent. The methods that I use, the things that I study, it's just kind of constantly building and getting to be a more like robust database, I guess.
But we've enjoyed that this nice week of good weather, 40-degree weather. It's like summer now.
Exactly.
Because I'm from Chicago too, just so you know. Oh. So my question is during your match, I think it was in round 1, it was the question where what did Anakin call Qui-Gon in Phantom Menace? I don't know. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. Now the answer was the actual quote in the movie is, "You're a Jedi Knight." Mollie said Jedi Knight, and you said Jedi. Was that kind of like were you nervous at that, where Mollie may have challenged that, or you may have lost a point because of that at any point?
No, I think the question was, what did Anakin say he was going to be and come back and free all the slaves on Tatooine? And I don't remember. I actually meant to like look this up after the match, and I haven't gone back yet. I'm not sure what exactly he says. At first, I wrote down pilot, and then I erased it because I couldn't think of what the answer was, and went with Jedi. But if I recall, I feel like Mark hesitated a little bit in telling her that Jedi Knight was correct. So I fully don't know. I actually need to go look into that.
Yeah, because I watched it a couple of weeks ago, so I may have. Maybe you're right. I obviously you lived it, so maybe I'm wrong about the question. So, but yeah.
Okay, so my question. This might get into the weeds a little, but your match against Mollie was very similar to a lot of the other Star Wars matches, where it seems you have to go perfect in order to win the match. Do you like that aspect of Star Wars, or would you rather, if it's possible, the questions would be harder so that maybe you might have a little more room for error?
Honestly, I do kind of wish. That's hard to say. I mean, I liked this sort of caliber of the question that we had this year in this first match of the year. I do wish there was a little bit more room for error so that I had the freedom to like have just maybe one brain fart in the match and just completely forget like what somebody said to whom. I would love to have a little bit of wiggle room in that sense. But honestly, it's fun to like go perfect. It feels good. So I really I can't complain too much. It's always kind of nice to have that stress lifted of not having to answer my 5-point question. As curious as I always am, I'm always tempted to be like, can somebody just tell me what it was just so I can know if I know that that's not allowed. But yeah, for the most part, it's kind of fun. It just sucks that, yeah, like last season, the thing that took me out of the entire year was just one dumb 1-pointer answer that I answered for a round one question. So that kind of sucked, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I would add to that where, it's kind of prepping you for Alex, because, Alex, we've seen that he is almost perfect. There is like maybe he's this much room for error, but it does kind of prep you a little bit to prepare for Alex, because he's almost perfect. So I would say that it's prepping you a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think most of the matches that I've seen him play have been almost perfect, if not perfect. So yeah, it's definitely something to aspire to.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just talking about hard questions just a second ago. The question Dan had asked about. I just wondered, thinking back, is there a specific question that you can tell us that you had that was the most difficult for you to get right? A question that you got right, but it just was the hardest one, and you really had to try and pull it out.
I mean, without having to like think back on it, I don't watch my old matches very much. They're written out for me somewhere, all the questions, but I honestly, it's kind of hard to come up with one. That I almost want to say that John Ratzenberger quote or the name that I had against Sean Sullivan last year, that was like an answer I was just like pretty proud of. And I kind of thought the same, I almost made the same error that he did, where I wasn't fully sure what the last name was. And so I kind of took a shot in the dark, and I was like, no, I think there's an ER on the end. And ended up getting it right. So besides that, it's hard to sort of pinpoint what the hardest question I've had was, because a lot of times I kind of black out on, like, I just don't remember, on my matches all that clearly.
Yeah, in the heat of the moment, and then I don't even know how many, probably well over 100, 150 questions you've probably been asked in your total career in Schmodown, I would imagine. So yeah, that I just thought I'd take a shot in the dark.
All right, so Laura, we had a bit of a debate a couple of weeks back, where should the Star Wars division include like all of canon? And I want to kind of, obviously we all kind of agreed that all of canon should be included to kind of give everyone a bit of a range. But I'm going to rephrase the question a little bit, where would you rather have just movies and shows, or would you rather have all of canon included in the Star Wars?
I certainly don't want all of canon. I mean, that's, like, that would include like video games and comics, which are two things that I have no interest in. So that would be a no for me for sure. If it was TV shows, that's a little bit easier to wrap my mind around, but I don't know if I would do all that well on it, because I think I would pressure myself into going as in depth with the shows as I do with the movies, thinking that I have to, even though I probably wouldn't need to. And it would be life consuming. And I don't know if it would be worth my time, to be totally honest. So I'm kind of happy to just leave it the way it is and just do movies. As much as I love the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, I don't have any interest in watching Star Wars Resistance, so I don't really want that included. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with bringing in other media.
Okay.
Yeah. Plus, I'll reiterate what I've said before. It's called the movie trivia Schmodown, not the TV show trivia Schmodown, not the comic book or video game trivia Schmodown. And until they change that, you literally can't add anything but movies, in my opinion. But real quick, we have a question here from the YouTube here, a good one. Laura, would you prefer triple threat championship match or heads up against Damon or Demolanta for the championship?
That's hard to say. I think it would definitely be more intimidating to have the two of them up there, but at the same time, it would just be so efficient to be able to like take both of them out at one time. But yeah, I think for sure it's a little bit easier to like go one at a time. So if that ends up being the case, which it sounds like that's what it's going to be, that's totally fine. Let them duke it out with each other first, and then I'll take whatever's left.
So as a follow-up to that, would you rather Demolanta beat Damon and then have that rematch already taken care of that you don't need to be bothered with, or would you rather Damon still be undefeated going into your match where you'd have to beat him twice?
It's hard to say. I kind of would rather just get it all over with in one instead of having to wait any longer. I feel like I'm I'm pretty studied up at the moment. And I can kind of maintain that as best I can, but it would be great to just have it sooner rather than later. You know, I would rather not have to wait any longer than I have to, but at the same time, it's like, well, I've gotten studied up on little notice before. I can do it again. I just am kind of hoping that this is just, it doesn't get dragged out. You know what I mean?
Okay. So yeah, just another question that's come on a different topic. We were talking about the other canon, and now that we have these Dragon Con players as well as all sorts of additional rookies. Are you excited to play these new rookies, or are you just more concentrated on the championship match, and when they come, or is there anybody you're like really interested to play in upcoming, whenever that might be?
I'm more focused on the match that I have upcoming at the moment. I'm really curious to see them play. I'm not super eager to play them myself. I kind of want to I would like to be a witness first, just to kind of see how they do, and be able to sort of study how they do. So that, I think that's where I land on that. I wouldn't be opposed to playing one of them. I would definitely welcome the challenge, but at this point, I think I would gain more from being able to sort of sit back and watch them play some of the other players and let the other players in this division play. I've already gotten to play once this year, and I've already guaranteed a shot to play again. So I would say, let somebody else take a whack at them.
Hey, there you go. Yeah, I just had one of those brain fart moments.
Relatable.
I've been holding it in my head for about 2 minutes, and it just went right out of my head. One of you guys got something real quick?
Do you have something? Otherwise,
I remembered my question from your last time you were here. It's about Star Wars in general, so it has nothing to do with Schmodown. So you're safe. So I like Ahsoka. I learned to love Ahsoka through the Clone Wars. I didn't like it in the movie, but I like. And the first time I saw Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka, I liked everything except one tiny little nitpick. It's the voice. Every time I've been kind of conditioned to hear Ashley Epstein's voice every time I see Ahsoka. And when I heard Rosario Dawson, it kind of took me out a little bit. I'm not saying I hated it. I'm just saying it just took me out of it. Was there anything from Rosario Dawson's performance that kind of took you out of it a little bit, or were you completely sold on it?
No, I was fully enthralled. I was so excited to see live action Ahsoka and how badass it looked. And I think the fact that they started with not a lightsaber battle, but getting to see her in action was sort of our first glimpse. I fully appreciated that. So getting to see the lightsabers in real life was just, it completely blew my mind. I was so excited, and I've sort of been preparing myself for a while, just mentally gearing myself up for seeing a live action Ahsoka Tano, knowing that she's not going to sound like Ashley Eckstein. She's not going to look like Ashley Eckstein. She's not going to look like her former variations and different designs. I just was ready for it to be a very different interpretation of a character that I love, and telling myself basically that I had to be open to that or I'm not going to have a good time. And I was really determined to enjoy that portrayal, which I ended up doing.
Yeah. And just to clarify, it's not the voice specifically. It's how Ashley would sound like, it would sound more comforting when she would speak. And Rosario would just sound more direct. That's where I kind of got hung up on. But other than that, other than those little nitpicks, and I admit they are nitpicks, I was sold on her. And I do know that it's a different character, it's a different actress, it's not going to be the same person. I understand that, but it's when I hear a voice, it's I'm listening for that degree, and it just takes me out just a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I remembered what I was going to ask. Yeah, no, producer, where's our sound? Oh, I work the sound effects. I don't have a cheering crowd and trumpets. Although I heard it in my head. But you've played Damon once before for the title. Just based on that experience, how valuable was that experience in preparing for the upcoming match, or is it something that you got it and you just need to do it.
There's definitely some comfort in having been up there before. I really like the virtual speed round. I much prefer that to the live in-person version. So I'm optimistic in that sense. But I think it'll be good. I'm definitely thinking that, yeah, having been on stage before has been in that situation is definitely a valuable experience. But I think sitting here and playing a couple matches at home was probably even more valuable, just given where we are with the digital matches still being in play. Because this most recent one was by far like the most relaxed I've been playing a match, which was really nice to finally get to that point. Because even last year, just like sitting here in my bedroom, I was like shaking while I was writing my answers and trying not to look scared. So it ended up feeling a lot more comfortable this time around, which was good. So I think I'm in a good space for it.
We got a viewer question from YouTube here. If Laura could change one scene in a Star Wars movie, what would it be? An example would be Leia hearing Luke's voice saying, "Remember your training," when she opened her eyes in space.
That's kind of a cool ad. I sort of like that idea. I would probably just remove the Luke and Leia kiss in Empire. That's kind of my go-to thing that should be stricken from the record, I think.
What's it on the mouth?
I don't know. I mean, was it really that bad? I mean, they're both good-looking people, right? I mean, they're
a little
related.
yeah, I know.
I know at the time.
Very poor joke.
And besides, we've had enough changes to the original trilogy. Let's keep it the way it is right now.
Oh,
fine.
I have to show this off. Ever since I got this right here, my friends. This right here. This contains the original theatrical version of New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi.
Oh.
The theatrical version. The one I used to watch when I was 5 years old, every day after school.
Yeah. Enjoy those creepy Ewoks. It's gonna be great.
I love that. I love it so much, and I was never a fan of those specialized editions and adding all that stuff. But here we got a couple minutes left. And I had forgot to tell you this, I think, Laura, but Ace had to work today. He wasn't able to be here. He was going to be here, and we were going to have a little crossover with you and he. But I want to talk to you a little bit about Force Toast podcast because you guys are doing great on that show. Why don't you tell us about that show and what you got going on with it and anything else you'd like to say?
Sure. So Force Toast to Star Wars Happy Hour is the audio podcast I do with my friend Alice, where the gist of it is that we drink wine and we talk about Star Wars. And basically we sort of have a structured show. It's where we have recurring segments. We tend to recap any new books or new episodes of any shows that are going on at the time. And then we always do trivia at the end of each episode, where we sort of quiz each other, or in situations like now where I'm the one that's sort of needing to stay up to par on trivia, will just quiz me sometimes. A lot of times our listeners will write in questions and they always do a killer job. So it's fun. When we don't have any, we write them ourselves or we do Trivial Pursuit just to keep things simple. But we just made our 54th episode. So we've been on the air for 2 years now. We release new episodes every other Tuesday. So we recently hit our 50th episode, and then we hit our 2-year anniversary in early February. So it's been really fun. We have a ton of fun doing it. It continues to be very rewarding, and I hope to keep it going for as long as we can.
You want to hear something funny? The mic wasn't on that whole time.
No way.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, wow.
So smooth.